Kiang West.
I ask myself a question. People shouting about the reparation today, who made victims cried in this very assembly. It's on record. Who insisted in this very house that victims wouldn't explain their pain and made them wiped seriously in this very house. If you are much more concerned about the victims, before you allocate $10 million for president to go for make the people to earn politics, you would have allocated much more to the victims in 2022 budget session. All those things would have been done. Reparation does not just mean a piece of legislation. You want to have this practice in a piece of legislation, that does not mean you cannot reparate today. There are reparations which does not involve funds, which does not involve any money. Victims are dying. What have you done about them? How many of you South Indians have visited the victim center and know their condition today? Some of them want to go to the health center, they cannot even reach there. The objective of the bill is clear. Nobody argued that we should not reparate our victims. All of us, one way or the other, we are victims. But why the certificate of urgency? This bill needs to go through a rigorous scrutiny. We consult extensively to ensure that we make decisions that are informed by the electors, by the masses of this country. We want to pass a piece of legislation that affects the people of this country whose parents were killed in 2 hours. You say you have concerns for those people? I know the executive has succeeded in dividing this parliament by bringing shock tactics, convening an extraordinary session, abusing the powers of the law, and bringing in certain things which you have interest in, but not basically primarily for this bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill should have gone through the necessary procedures to make consultations extensively, to ensure that we hear from the victims. The drafters of the bill have right to consult, but it's the right of the National Assembly also to do an extensive consultation. That is the part of the parliament. It does not necessarily mean if the executive does a consultation, we cannot also do a consultation. They have a role and we also have a role to play. They have right to draft anything and give it to us. We also have a mandate, a legislative responsibility to ensure that we exhaust all the due process. We do an extensive consultation with all the parties that are affected by legislation. Parliament of the Gambia, I'm surprised that people are moving motions for the piece of legislation, members to debate on it on 3 minutes. That affects lives of the people. People lost their parents. And you say you have concerns about that. On the objects and reasons, you have mentioned about ex-James proceeds. We don't know the total amount of these ex-James proceeds. And thereafter, we have seen an audit report in this very parliament that says there are still some documents which amounting to 22 million Gambian dollars from ex-James proceeds, which we are not accounted for because the evidences were not provided for. You are telling us that? We were allocating funds here. None of you shouted about this. The executive has an interest, but not for the victims. If a parent could, if the head of state could stand and call a victim Modole Fatih Kono, and that was attacked to a victim who was being brutalized, was raped, you are calling Modole Fatih Kono. You have a concern about those victims?